Hello everybody and welcome back for another episode of Indie Impressions. My name is Nick and today we're going to be checking out something called Inaris, the Cloud Temple by student developers at the DigiPen Institute. This is a first-person puzzle platformer with a little bit of an exploratory quality and comes across a little bit like a more spiritual and much less sci-fi version of something like Portal. We're going to be manipulating some pillars and columns to try and solve puzzles in a variety of different temples, all of which seem to have their own visual themes and come across very distinctively interesting. So before we get started, let's just flash the credits screen real quick. There are the people responsible for this so far. I'm not exactly sure where we are as far as this being developed, whether or not this is finished or whether it's still work that's being fleshed out or what, but what's here right now is actually quite entertaining, and I did play about 10 minutes or so of it to get the picture, which basically took me to the middle, or roughly the beginning middle of the second temple, and I'm not sure how much there's going to be more to it beyond that, but what I liked, again, so far was that there seemed to be quite a bit going on. So, options menu, audio, got settings for main, music, and FX. Always nice when they set those separately as their own sliders. Video settings are pretty bare on this one, full screen or not, resolution settings, and then controls are basically just invert axes, and set your mouse sensitivities. And axes, I don't know. Language, we've also got a few different languages here, which is always nice to see too. So we're gonna hit new game, and I will take you through at least the first temple, maybe crossing over into the second. We'll see how quickly it goes by. Alright, we are now in the game proper. I used some editing here to skip us past a rather lengthy first loading screen, but I don't believe that that's a thing that really comes off too often. If anything, there's a couple other loading screens that were much, much shorter. But anyway, here we are in the world, in the clouds it seems. We've got a rather stark, empty-looking sky going off in every direction, rather smoky, in fact, with not the longest draw distance I've ever seen, and a rather diffuse-looking light over in that direction. So we can notice our one bit of interaction here that the game gives us right off the bat, as we can use WASD in space, obviously movement and jumping, and we do have this glove that appears rather ominously kind of hanging in the space next to us, and when we left-click, it actually causes a couple of rings to move around, and we'll shoot a little lightning bolt. And that, as well as paired with our right-click move, is kind of our primary means of dealing with the environment around us, and just kind of taking this in for a moment. This isn't actually probably the most interesting place that I've seen so far in this game, but it is kind of a nice spot to set the framework, which is a very enigmatic and mysterious type of game. It kind of gives you the impression like maybe we could go over here, but no, I think it's just kind of misleading there to give us, the idea that maybe the world is bigger than it looks at first. So there is a little bit of a blurb that I guess I can read while we're walking around the environment here that the developers chose to provide on the website. It says, Inaris is a tale about discovery, about a lonely soul wandering in a set of familiar temples. This entity's connection with the environment will allow it to manipulate columns in order to find out what it's looking for. So, that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be wandering around a little bit aimlessly at first, until we find what appears to be up here a teleport point in a rather central location, and that's going to take us to the first temple, where we can then hopefully unlock what is to be the next bit of progress, which will go off in this direction. I think it's this direction. Well, we come back to this room, and then we actually use this sort of like a hub world that takes us to other temples. So let's go through this little whirlwind ethereal tornado. Alright, so we've made our teleportation, and it looks like we're in a bit of a more enclosed space now, with some kind of very strange futuristic wall sconce. I'm not really sure what that is. The decor here is very strange to me. It's this combination of, like, I want to say Aztec meets Asian, plus a little bit of just strange sci-fi. It's all kind of all over the place, but in an interesting way. I wouldn't go so far as to say that it's not cohesive, it's just something I've never really seen before, so I guess with that, well, it's a kind of a blending of ancient and futuristic at the same time, which is strange, and I guess I need to get used to it. So anyway, we used our right click to lower this pedestal. We're going to stand on top of it, and wherever you see those little targets are basically where we can target our lightning bolts at to make action happen. In this case, we're going to have a lot of false strikes as we look for, what is to be our path forward. I did actually play through this part already, so you'll have to pardon me that I'm kind of making a little bit light of these jumping and movement puzzles, but then again, they're not particularly complex anyway. The first temple, as far as I can tell, seems to be very much geared around just getting you suited in what you're going to be doing in the game. So this is the first area where actually things are not completely presently obvious. You'll notice there's a lot of targets all over the wall, and the inclination would of course be to jump in and just start triggering all of them. But the thing that you'll find out pretty quickly is our character can only jump at half heights, or half tile heights. So basically, we need to find a place where we can do that. The only place for that is right here. So this is our point of origin. We need to start putting together a path in some direction. Looks like there's a target there. We could activate that. There's all kinds of targets up there. But let's keep it simple for the moment. We'll just activate all the ones that are right around our general proximity. And hopefully using this, we can actually make some stuff happen. So it's a nice combination with the audio that's playing, which is quite soothing, actually, and the mysteriousness of the fact that everything is so glowy and just, you know, mysterious. I mean, as I said, ominous, ethereal, sometimes ominous. In this case, a little bit more uplifting, but the tempo and the mood does definitely change a little bit with the ambience. And right now, things feel very, you know, lively and reasonably happy to some degree. Okay, so we can use this as a pillar to climb up to another height. This seems to be locked off, so now we can climb over in this direction, go down and then back up again. I had the inclination to want to stand on some of these as they move from left to right, but apparently only vertical ones will actually carry your weight. The other ones don't really act as real mass. They just sort of, they'll move around. Like if I'm hesitant to actually do this, but you know what, let's close it and then we'll reopen it and I'll show you what I mean. So if I open this and then stand on it, I don't move. But if I'm standing on it vertically, it'll take me up. So I don't know if that's intentional or if that's a constraint of the engine or really what's going on there, but I am kind of curious, I guess. Anyway, so we've got this here. This is our pedestal. We want to take this down. And it goes all the way beyond where we just were. I believe underneath that, yes. And there's something shaking. Something is moving, and I'm not really sure where it's coming from or where it's going. Well, let's take the other elevator up. Oh, things are shifting in place. We've actually... I didn't even realize that the first time when I walked through here. This entire pillar that we seem to be within seems to have just adjusted. So maybe we're going to see some different things when we come back up the other side. Okay, here we are. Ah! So we've got a vast shift in lighting here, and what looks to be, we'll just trigger that in case that's something we need. So we've got some sort of a telescope. Is that a... I want to call it an astrolabe, but I'm pretty sure that's not what that is. What about this? Oh, this seems to be where we were prior. Or is this where I need to go? Maybe that's actually where I need to go since we've rotated and adjusted the whole pillar. So let's fall back down. And now it looks like we can get over here. And all of a sudden things start to feel a little bit different. Music's gotten a little bit more uplifting as well. Okay, let's jump up and over here. Oh, looks like another lift up, actually. And there's our tornado out. Does that say something? Actually, it looks like some text there, but I'm not really sure if that's actually written in a way that I can read it. Well, maybe it's something that we can decode for later. Maybe we'd come back and find out what the meaning was at a later date. So let's jump back into our tornado here. Some pillars are going to go up. We're going to teleport back over to our hub world, and then take a little bit of a walk over to our second temple, hopefully. See if we can figure all that out, although I won't go through too far into that because I don't want to really spoil too many more of the puzzles. So this is kind of a nice touch since we make that connection that this is like the one structure that really stands out compared to the others. It's sort of a nice way of, without just kind of beating you over the head saying, look, new progress over here, and then it points you in the direction of where you need to go, which I think is a nice way to do it without kind of talking down to the player. I know that's a thing that maybe sounds a little hyperbolic given the situation, because really, you know, we're not talking at all to the player, but it's through your actions and through your design choices that you kind of get a little bit of a sense of the developer's temperament in how they want to deliver messages to the player. And so far, I feel like it's all been very interesting and respectful, and all of a sudden, the tone shifts, though. What is all this all about? So we've gotten into this cave, and I got a very Dark Souls vibe, actually, from this cave, and I was very intrigued by this flickering light off in the distance, as well as why there's these wall sconces in the middle of the rocks. It's a very mysterious proposition, and I'd like to find out more. And I think that is probably one of the biggest strengths that this game has going for it so far, is that it's intriguing in its simplicity. Because honestly, those puzzles in the first temple really weren't much to speak of. They weren't really particularly difficult, and in general, the visual showcase that was going on wasn't particularly complex either, but I think it was more about the ambience and the delivery of the message and what's to come, more than what was actually in front of us at the moment. So what we seem to be seeing right now is, well, number one, they're willing to actually break up the environment to become a little bit dangerous, perhaps, and number two, they're willing to create situations where dynamic lighting actually becomes a big element here, and as you can see, we can cast light onto the environment by using our one way of interacting with things on left click. So we're going to go through this next tornado, and this is going to take us to what appears to be some sort of Lasertron temple, and I think I'll solve maybe the first puzzle, and then I'll leave it at that. Again, I really don't want to spoil too much of this. I found it quite interesting. And that is such a shift in tone. I really did not expect to go from where we were visually to this. But then again, I mean, given how things were with the neon on things, I guess I could have expected that, but really it's a bit shocking, and I like it quite a bit. So this opens sort of like an eyeball, and we'll head inside the eyeball laser temple. So what we seem to have now is pillars that are actually going to be able to manipulate these lasers. So we'll just kind of flick that on. As you can see, that activates that charger, and that also made that wall light up. As you can see, though, there's two of these. I guess we can call them tablets or slabs or whatever you want to say, and this one seems to be pointing in a way that doesn't look like it's quite as obvious how to make that all happen. So let's walk around a little bit. In case you're wondering, though, lasers do not hurt you, so you don't have to worry about that. This is not really an adversarial game. This is mostly cerebral, ambient, and environmental, which are things that I like quite a bit, and I think make for, well, a much more personal and intimate experience with the player. You don't really feel as worried about the experience as much as just let yourself go and enjoy what's around. Okay, so we're going to activate a bunch of pillars here. Again, this is going to be the last thing that I spoil, I'd say, because I think I know exactly what I needed to do here to make everything kind of fall into place instantly. That is provided I remember, so we're just going to do one of those and one of those. There we go. So yeah, all the pillars go up except for that one right there. So, problem solved. Oh, I've misstepped. Alright, I was being a little careless on that, and where did it actually put me? Oh, okay, just on the other side of the laser puzzle, so we just need to walk back over here, grab this platform, and this will take us up to the next zone, and this is the way the series will continue on into Inaris. So, I'm going to leave us off at this point. I'm very intrigued by where this is going, and I really can't wait to see if there are visual themes and things already established for the third temple and beyond. I really enjoyed the hub world element of this quite a bit, and I do look forward to seeing where this is going to head as a full production, if that's where this is indeed going. There were some little, loading screen pictures of some fabulous-looking concept art, and I just can't wait to see if that all gets integrated into the final experience. And again, if that is going to be a final experience, or if this stuff is already in there. Like I said, I haven't played the whole thing, so I look forward to trying more of it, and I hope you guys are as into this as I am. This is actually a free download if you'd like to go grab it right now. There's going to be a link in the description. I don't even think it was a massive file off the top of my head. I think it was under 500 megs, so I definitely recommend giving it a look. Let me know what you think about it in the comments. If you have any, opinions about the ambience or the delivery or the whole concept I was talking about of how developers speak to you as far as messages as you perceive things through things like UI and level design choices, I think that's a really interesting conversation that I want to have at length at some point, and maybe I'll end up making a whole video about just that kind of stuff, because I find that something that I think very rarely gets talked about, and I think it's actually a huge perception thing that happens with players, and you can end up forming an opinion about a game sometimes before you've hardly even set foot into the actual experience, just based on how the UI handles it. So anyway, feel free to weigh in on any of that stuff. Feel free to go try and solve this puzzle. It looks a little bit more complex than the last one. We've got a lot of pedestals here that we can mess around with. But anybody is familiar with doing these little laser routing puzzles will probably be able to get this fairly quickly. I'm not super good at them. But anyway, hopefully you enjoyed the video. Make sure you leave a like on it if you did, and I will be back again tomorrow because new episodes of Indie Impressions go up every single day. So if you're into the idea of finding out about a new artistic, original, or unique indie game every single day, feel free to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and tune in tomorrow for another one. So thanks everybody for watching, hope you enjoyed it, and hope you have a fantastic night. Talk to y'all later.